the South Sydney Rabbitohs taking on the Manly Sea Eagles. Now, before we even jump into this, I'm going to give you the betting odds here because I did hear this on the Rugby League Guru earlier today, and it actually has come down a bit in price. They were paying $2.60, but the South Sydney Rabbitohs are favourites at $1.60 with Manly Sea Eagles paying $2.35. So a team that's struggling with some more forwards out is paying less than what a team that's flying and obviously is 3-0 with the bye coming into this week. So talk me through this lineup of South Sydney. We'll talk through Manly and then we'll give our predictions.
Yeah, you got Latrell Milk at the fullback role. Excuse me. Alex Johnson and Isaiah Thompson in the wing position. Isaiah Tass and serial killer Campbell Graham in the centre role, with Cody Walker and Lachlan Ilias in the halves, Daniel Fafita and Tom Burgess in the front row, with Damien Cook in the hooker position, KK and Jacob Host in the second row, with Cameron Murray to make the lock, Blake Taff, MCK, not to be confused with Machine Gun Kelly, with David Molly, Jed Cartwright, and Ben Lovett. Being favourites, I think it has to do more with previous encounters with the opposition that we're about to name, Manly Sea Eagles. So I don't know what their winning percentage is against them coming into this game.
Do you want me to give you a stat? Because I've got it written on my other screen right next to me.
Give us a stat, because that's where I'm thinking that's why they're favourites.
Yeah, the stat is that South Sydney have won the last 6 in a row versus the Manly Sea Eagles. And
that's why they're $1.60 coming into this game. That's just based on history. If we're talking about right here, right now, based on the last 3 weeks, Manly should be paying $1.60, being at $2.35. I think you said. I think that's great value. Gamble responsibly, of course, but on paper, as we always say, it is good. But what matters is what happens when they run out on the park, and hopefully Cody Walker can have his head on right. It's screwed shut, and he's wearing a headgear so he can't lose his head at all. The trial milk, just keep doing what you're doing, mate. And you've got the serial killer out there who I think was robbed of a Dalian point from last weekend.
Who are we talking about that's been robbed right here? I'm a bit confused here.
Campbell Graham, the serial killer.
Oh, okay, yes, okay, yeah.
Out of a losing side, I think he deserved at least. Well, Brandon Smith, Joe Hargreaves, and Campbell Graham all should have received 1 point at least for their efforts the last week. So I think it's a bit robbed.
Yeah, I've got to agree with you. We spoke about this off air, and I sent it to you, and I said, if you're going to give anyone from South Sydney a point, I don't know how Campbell Graham didn't get it. So I think we're on the same page here now. I understand that Souths have the rub of the green against Manly, but if it was a full-strength squad, I'd be saying that $1.60, cool, whatever, it's justified. But Hame Sele, he's failed, obviously, the HIA last week. He was knocked out. We do hope he is okay, but he is the first person ruled out with his new 11-day stand-down protocol. Then, obviously, Shaq Mitchell is injured. He's out. Tavita Tavola, he's out. He's out for 4 to 6 weeks. So they weren't the best against Penrith. They were a bit better against the Roosters with those players back in. They've now gone and lost another 3 players that can change the game. So I just don't see how they're favourites. But let's talk about this Manly Sea Eagles side. I'll pop it up on the screen. It's Tom Trbojevic, Christian Tuapalito, Brad Parker, Kula, Ruben Garrick, Josh Schuster, DCE, Taniela Paseka, Lachlan Croker, Jake Trbojevic, or Gerbo, whichever way you want to go. Hamo Alakalua, Kelma, mate, this is why I always give you Manly. Josh Alloway, KO Weeks, Ben Trbojevic, Ethan Bullimore, Sean Kepi, and Sipley to round out the 18th man. Now, Seabold has gone with the exact same team that did down the Eels in round 3. Both Paseka and Alloway did accept their fines for dangerous tackles, so they are free to play with those fines. So it's a side that's flying. It's a side that probably isn't as hurt going into this round, given they did have that bye already. They are a little bit more rested than the South Sydney Rabbitohs, who have been through the trenches with a game against Penrith, a game against the Roosters. So they have had back-to-back really hard games, and it doesn't get much easier for South Sydney. So talk to me about this team. I think I'm more interested in your thoughts on, obviously, Josh Schuster in attack and defense. Where's that right balance? Tom Trbojevic, how is he going? And obviously the result that you think is going to come out of this game.
Yeah, maybe next week we get you to announce the South Sydney Rabbitohs team instead of the Manly Seagulls, because I think I do a better job reading out Manly's players, but I know you're not going to read out South's team. So Tommy T, his hamstrings look good. They look flexible, and they look ready to rip through this game. Josh Schuster, look, my thoughts of it's not personally, but I think having a big 6 or even a big 7 isn't where the game is headed. Josh Schuster's built for a pack position, being forward or second row. He has great hands when it comes to attack, but come defensively, him and I think Caleb Ponga fall in the same category of they're not really defensive players. They're easy to target. I know Josh Schuster has that bigger size and sort of can put up, but if you know who he is and you know who you're going to run at, I'll be running at Josh Schuster and trying to find that hole, maybe with a cheeky little offload just before the line and taking a hit to push him past, put a player past him. So, look, it's only time will tell whether Seabold can train Josh Schuster to be defensively ready when it comes to being in the 6th role. But other than that, this side on paper looks good. Looks like ready to lock and roll. My tip hasn't changed from when this South team was announced. So I am going back Manly 13+.
Yeah, we're kind of getting into that thing where I don't know if we're both picking safe because we don't want to fall too far behind. But I am going to go a little bit different to you. I do think Souths can stick in the game. I think where they struggle is now the bench players and the fatigue of their forwards, because they did play in, 34-degree heat against the Roosters, where towards the back end of that game, players were making mistakes. Players were getting fatigued. Cameron Murray came off the bench for, I think, about 15, 20 minutes. So there is fatigue building up. You take away a few forwards against an explosive Manly side, and who knows what's going to happen. But we're going to stick with the same prediction of Manly to win, but you're going to go 13+. I'm going to go 1-12. So we have a bit of a change here, but every day South Sydney lose a game, whether it's 1-12 or 13+. Everyone that doesn't support South Sydney smiles that little bit more. So we'll see how that one goes, and we'll obviously jump in.